President Biden recently signed a brand new executive order going and looking at the digital asset industry. What he said was that the United States wants to be a leader in the digital asset industry, but we want to make sure also that there's no nefarious or illicit activity happening. This is a great sign because what it does is it validates Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain technology. But of course, there's been many politicians before the president and the current administration that have been trying to get digital assets, build a regulatory framework, and help to make sure that this innovation creates jobs and economic prosperity here in the United States. One of those individuals is Congressman Tom Emmer out of Minnesota, and he's been pushing a ton of legislative initiatives for it. But yesterday he had this great thread looking at the executive order and saying, what the hell does this actually mean for the industry and for the average American citizen? And so after he went ahead and reviewed it, he said that, as expected, this executive order directed various federal agencies to study benefits and risks of digital assets to the economy, global competitiveness, and provide legislative recommendations. Crypto, tokenization, blockchain, NFTs, smart contracts, and stablecoins are all powering a more viable economic structure. And as a country, it's imperative that we develop a strategy to foster this innovation. I don't think very many people are going to disagree with that. But then Emmer went on to talk about the blockchain caucus has been advancing a pro-crypto legislative and oversight agenda for the past 8 years. This executive order is 8 years after we saw various politicians go ahead and start to talk about these things. So ultimately, what Emmer talks about here is that some of the findings of the executive order are sound. We have a national interest in fostering digital asset innovation. That's true. The rest of the executive order focuses on consumer protection, systemic risk, global competitiveness, international standards, and placing guardrails on code to make sure it's resilient. Now let's go ahead and read between the lines. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets nice and spicy. Emmer said that decentralization is the point, which is right. He gets it. The executive order doesn't mention decentralization once. Big problem. The disintermediation of our economy will enable all Americans, regardless of circumstance, to decide their futures, not a bank or big tech or the government. That's a principle that the United States was built on. And then he goes on to say that given this administration's regulatory posture towards the crypto community, we have no reason to assume that the directives in the executive order will yield results that appropriately acknowledge the importance of leading with digital asset policies that prioritize open, permissionless, and private technology. Very key, important things. And so then he says that the executive order places the highest urgency on the agencies to study central bank digital currencies. Any common sense analysis of a potential central bank digital currency that is not open, permissionless, and private would illuminate that the very idea is an entire non-starter and a disservice to Americans. Kudos to Tom Emmer, because I agree with him. You have to have open, permissionless technology if you're going to have true decentralized digital currencies. Now he goes on and says that most fortunately, the executive order doesn't ask the SEC to weigh in. SEC Chair Gensler has spent the past year intimidating crypto innovators and entrepreneurs with his unproductive regulation by public statement and enforcement action. His input is not critical. Then Tom Emmer goes on and he explains that overall it's critical that we maintain tech and economic leadership on the global stage, and he looks forward to continuing to work to find bipartisan solutions to keep our great crypto community right here in the United States. And so ultimately, I think that that's exactly what's at stake here, is that it's great that the president and the current administration are saying this technology is real. This technology is not going anywhere. We want to be a global leader, and we need to make sure that we understand all of the nuances of the industry in order to help foster it as it grows. But we have to be careful that the government doesn't overreach, that they don't actually get in the way, that they don't create more friction for innovation and entrepreneurship. Ultimately, this technology is going to be adopted globally, and there's a competition underway from nation states, from cities, and local jurisdictions. Where are the innovators going to live, work, and build their businesses? Where are the investors, the holders of these assets, going to live, work, and build their companies as well? That's what's at stake. And the United States wants to be a leader, then we have to simply create a framework and get the hell out of the way. Let the innovators innovate. Let the investors invest. And let the people do this, because the private sector is better suited to actually foster this industry growing and gaining that global adoption than the government ever will be. Hey you, did you like this video? Great, we make 5 of them a day and post them here on this channel. Make sure you're subscribed, like the video, and see you next time.